And there it is, just like we began our 450 previews for Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship. We begin our 250 show showing you the phenomenal last lap last year. As good as Tomac and Dungey's war was throughout 2018, there's no way, you will never top that last 250 lap. It was movie-level battle between Osborne to try to pull it out against Savatgy and also Jordon Smith, who was in it earlier.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was a crazy race. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I'm sure Jack Osborne and Joey Savatgy are the same way.
I mean, that's it. That's the series you would like to have every year. That's the screenwriter script to have a series end.
Yeah, I think it's the only time I've ever stood up and yelled at a race.
Yes.
Honestly, which is crazy, but we've been to hundreds, if not thousands, of races between us, and you think you've seen everything, but that was the peak of race excitement. I mean, you can't draw it up any better than that.
Yeah, you had come down to my side of the press box, and I remember I literally I was slack-jawed, and I had no words. It had turned me speechless, and it made my jaw drop. For real. Yeah. So, congrats, Zach Osborne, now the defending 250 East champ. So, we never know for sure what coast riders are going to ride, but Zach says, because he's got the #1 plate, East, barring some disaster, he has to fill in for a guy in the West. Justin Hill is the champion in the West. Most likely then he'll be there in the West to defend that plate. As Hill told me, all my money's on that plate.
Make sure though, teams, make sure that you don't tell anybody before the Anaheim 1 what coach your guys are doing, so that you can get inside the heads of these guys and just mess them. And don't tell the media or the fans or anybody. It's just great the way you do it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this entire episode has been done with a decoder ring to try to read between the lines and guess what coast riders are riding. So
we're not sure. Yeah. The Pats may not be in the AFC East next year. We don't really know. We'll wait till the opener to see where the Pats are playing next year.
Right, and with all the technical training schedules these riders are on, you would not want the riders to know when they're actually going to race.
Nope.
Okay, so Osborne is the defending East champion and most likely will be racing East. That's what he says he's doing for now. This is a weird situation. We said all year that Osborne was essentially the best guy. The title came down to the wire, but in most races he was the faster guy. Then outdoors he really rolled. So is it just like a cakewalk season, like just it's Osborne and everybody else? Or in this East, are we going to see some guys challenge him and he might end up not defending his title? How easy would his path be this year?
Well, again, we don't know who's riding East, so it's hard to say whether he's going to do. But one thing, JT, you can agree. I mean, Zach Osborne was the best guy on the East Coast last year, week in and week out. He was able to rip through the pack. I don't see that changing. I see he's on Alden Baker's program, same bike, same team. He's an older guy that's had some success late in his career. There's no chance he slacks, quote unquote, and just floats through it. If someone's going to beat him on the East, JT, they're going to beat him with a tremendous season.
Yeah, going in, he has to be the favorite. He's a returning champion. He's a quote unquote veteran, being an older guy. But I don't think that makes it easy. He's still got basically the same competition he had last year, and it wasn't a breeze last year. We saw it came down to the last turn of the last race. So he's gonna have to face those same guys in the same situations. And if we know anything about 250 Supercross racing, expect the unexpected. There's no way you can go in and say, well, these guys are gonna finish 1, 2, 3, and that's how it's gonna be. That's just not how it works in this class. So I don't know why we would expect that to be any different for this year.
Oh, but JT, takeaway is front flat in Detroit.
But you can't. You can't. Well, okay, that's what happens in 250 Supercross racing.
Right. And the starts, outdoors, they kind of started to come around for a little bit, but they sucked in Supercross. And that's why we can both say he was the fastest guy, but it came down to the wire. He left the door open for these guys quite a bit by having bad starts that leads to chaos and all these other things.
As I said, if somebody's going to beat him on the East, they're going to have to beat him by like just ripping off wins. Yeah. A lot of wins. Because consistently, Zach will be there. He'll be great. If not defend this title. You're going to have to do something really special to beat him, I think. And that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what kind of series is going to be to beat him.
Now, on the West, I feel like this guy got forgotten about. Justin Hill wrapped up the title early. There's all this drama in Vegas with Osborne and then the 450 class. I think everybody forgot. He was the West champ. Didn't do much outdoors, so that didn't keep his name in the press. He is the West champ, and traditionally I would say the West is usually a little more hype, a little stronger. I don't want to say it's the more prestigious title, but basically, if you win the 250 West title, you're a bad dude. I almost feel like Hill has gotten forgotten about, and what's even more intriguing, he left the team that he won the title on, and he's gone to a team that basically didn't even exist until about a year ago. This is a very intriguing situation. To me, not so much for Hill, but can this JGR, Yoshimura, Auto Trader, Suzuki thing work immediately? Because they have to be good in the very first race. They have the champion. It's very intriguing.
Yeah, certainly he was best guy again. Not as dominant as Zach or these other guys to me, but he was the best guy on the West Coast after he got his Anaheim 1 poor race out of the way. Justin Hill was great. But I'll be honest, I don't like the move Justin did. I think Pro Circuit wanted him back. They wanted him to pay him more money. They wanted to give him a little bit more of his choice of program to run. And he left for the security of a 2-year deal, and that's great, no problems. I love the guys at JGR, but I believe the Monster Energy Kawasaki is a better bike than the dated Suzuki RMZ 250 program, and to me, bike is very important in that class. He will do well, but I didn't like the move, JT.
I could understand that for sure. In my crystal ball in my head of what is the most likely recipe for success to duplicate 2017 results, I think you're right. I think staying on a consistent program where you knew you were winning that championship before a whole race early, you would have the continuity of program, continuity of bike. The bike's going to be even improved because let's remember it was a brand new bike last year for the Kawasaki 250. So yeah, I can't really argue it. But as we know in this sport, 450, high-level 450 rides are very hard to come by this year. So I think this year may put him at maybe a step back. Maybe he can overcome that step back though. That's yet to be seen. But I think long term, which is what he's more concerned with, because he already got that 250 title, right? Yeah. So long term, I think he's looking at this as a better move. Even if it's tougher on him in 2018, 2019 is going to be where he wants to be. So I think I think there are a lot of facets to it. It's not only about 2018, it's more about 2019. Yeah,
by Hill switching, he has a locked-in guaranteed 450 deal with JGR, which is the factory Suzuki 450 team for 19. He couldn't pass that up. I feel if Hill wins the title this year for him, that's good. If he doesn't win it, it's not a disaster.
If you win a couple of races, but you don't win the title, great, that's fine, like no problem. But it is a survivor type of showdown between Weston Pike and Justin Bogle, knowing that guy over there is jumping into 450s.
Well, and also you have to remember for Justin Hill, when he graduates out of the 250 class next year, you know, the natural progression of that team and class is to move to Monster Energy Kawasaki, right? So you're also going to have Joey Savatgy. You're going to have maybe Adam. You're going to have guys that are looking to get into that spot as well. Adam Cianciarulo down the road. So it's not like he's a shoo-in for that spot either. So I think he's like, if I can shore something up and be done, okay, yeah, we got some work to do, and I need to put my head down for 2018. But for 2019, I'm going to be looking pretty. So it's a tough move, but you can see why he made that decision.
If he pulls it off and he gets the title, think of how huge of a turnaround this would be for Suzuki. Look at the stats. So Suzuki used to be one of the most dominant small bore teams.
They're not good.
Ryan Dungey left in 2009, moved to the 450 class on a Suzuki 450. Since then,
Mark Barnett.
All of them, man.
Those days are over.
Huffman, Swink, Willie Surratt, Titchener, go down the list. They won a lot of small bore titles. Tim Ferry, yes, not a race wins, but title. The point is, since then, 2 wins for Suzuki since the end of the 2009 season in this class. And now there's potential they could have a championship at the end of this one. That will be a phenomenal turnaround.
I predict they get a win this year. They get back into the winner's column with somebody.
You got to at least call Hill to win a race, absolutely. But the real question is, Osborne and Hill, you put them as the favorites because they have the #1 place, but there are other riders that know. This is my year. I'm in position. I'm going to get it done. Let's swing it to David Pingree out in California. I want to know what it's like if you're one of those riders, if you're a rider that feels like it's all come together, this is my year, this is my chance, and I might not get that chance again because I might move up. Next year I could be hurt. It's a short series. You've got to be on point every weekend to get your first title. Ping, what is that like to go through?
Hey guys, well I think you're talking about kind of 2 different issues here. I mean, if you're talking about Justin Hill, he's already got it done. He's already won a 250 championship. So for him, this would be great if he can win another one, but it's not the end of the world if he doesn't. I think he's got another shot with JGR. If he can keep good relationships down there, he'll have an opportunity in the 450 class. He's already proven he's capable. But for guys who are on that cusp, let's say Shane McElrath or some of these star Yamaha guys, Plessinger, he's probably getting to that point where it's time to start winning races and contending for titles. There definitely is another level of pressure that comes with that. And I had a couple seasons where I was in contention, couldn't quite get it done, as you know, but the pressure's real. And like you said, there's very few rounds in these 250 championships, not a lot of room for mistakes. You've got to really consider even strategy during the race. You know, there was times in my career where if I would have just passed one more guy, could have made the difference in the title. And so those are things you got to think about while you're racing, while your heart rate's at 180 and you know you're running a second or third. It's like, how hard do you push to get that guy in front of you? Now, as far as the guys like McElrath, guys like Plessinger, Davalos, yeah, it's their time to win. They're expected to win. And with that definitely comes a certain amount of pressure, but it also comes confidence. And I think that a lot of times that offsets it because they know they're capable of winning. All these guys have pretty much done it that are going to be contending for the title. They've won races. They know they can do it. So it's just a matter of having a good off season, executing when the gate drops here at Anaheim 1. So we'll see who can handle the pressure. A lot of times that's what it comes down to in these title fights is who can stay consistent, not make mistakes, get the starts, and avoid letting the pressure buckle them. So back to you in the studio.
Did I notice a little bit of emotion when Ping had to choke out the words, I wasn't able to get it done?
It was tough.
It was tough. That was not the dust in California.
Involuntary deep breath.
That was not making America great again for Ping.
No, waiting to exit. Who's not conservative with his viewpoint on losing those titles? I want to thank our sponsors this year, LS2 Helmets, Pro Taper Handlebars, and New Ray Toys for pitching in and helping make this show happen. That means flying these guys from the West Coast to Morgantown, West Virginia, where we shoot this at the Racer X HQ. Let's talk about some of those riders who this could be their year, and that's putting some pressure on them. First of all, you kind of heard through the grapevine, maybe it's Adam Cianciarulo racing west. We don't know for sure, but probably Davalos will be his teammate. Okay, Davalos, there has never been a guy who's had more this could be his years than him. And as for AC, he finally got it back on track, won some races at the end of the year outdoors, so this could be the year for one of those guys.
Yeah, do you get the sense that some of these guys are on the I'm going to dodge Osborne train?
You wonder.
We see that year in and year out.
Definitely
If
happens.
there's a dominant guy somewhere, it's like, where do you think he's going to end up? Okay, I'm going over there. You know, and teams will strategically place their best guy to try to go opposite somewhere else, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think for Cianciarulo, I think it's a smart move to go race west. I think it gives him the best opportunity because of the things we talked about with Justin Hill, the uncertainty of how this year will go for him. It gives Cianciarulo a real chance to win this West Coast Championship because we saw Osborne was the class of the field last year. I think it also gives Cianciarulo a better prep time for the Outdoor Championship. So it gives him all that testing time leading up to it as well. So for a multitude of reasons, I like this move for Cianciarulo. I think both he and Davalos will win several heat races, which we've seen from Davalos, and I think they'll be in contention to win, you know, main events and podium more often than not.
It's great to see a guy like Marty get a shot. It's great to see him get a shot with a top-notch team. You know, maybe this will be the year that he pulls through.
It's just a gift that keeps on giving, isn't it, Steve?
It really is. It really is. Listen, I got the nets. I almost got Marty into 450s with those tremendous Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship Series results, but it didn't quite happen. No, but seriously, JT, you nailed it. AC is going to be, you know, one of the favorites for the title no matter what coast he's on. The kid's finally figuring out his shoulders are better, he's getting better. Yeah, you'll see race wins and maybe an almost title from Adam, and Marty will be good, and something will happen.
Yeah. Okay. You talked about East and West and choosing. Okay, I think unequivocally we know there was a mistake. Christian Craig should not have been sent to the East. Christian Craig would have been much better off racing 250 SX West. Now he has told you he's probably racing West this year, not making that mistake again.
Last year they had a team scrimmage, and Jeremy Martin was very good in the scrimmage. Christian didn't ride as well as he could have, and immediately the team said, okay, Jeremy, you're going west, and Christian, you're going east. And honestly, I mean, Jeremy set the fastest time at A1 practice. Yep. Everything looked good, and then it all fell to pieces. But Christian Craig's a SoCal kid, JT. I mean, born and raised on these tracks on that hard pack. Leave him in the West.
Yeah, I think so too. It suits his riding style. He's a bigger kid, so when you get that wheel spin, it takes a little bit of the burden off the engine. So I think it suits him in a multitude of ways, his riding style, his weight, everything. And we've seen him be competitive to win races on the West. Didn't work out in the East. It's a very easy decision from my perspective.
Interesting to see who they put with Christian on the West. I would think Jeremy Martin would go East then, right? That would be my idea. And then now we have RJ Hampshire and Chase Sexton, and which guy teams up with who on which coast. Big year for RJ Hampshire, JT, in terms of his career.
Yeah, RJ, you never know what to expect with him. I mean, he came out and shocked the world at the USGP in Jacksonville this year. But I think it is a big year for him to produce. He's been around for a few years now. He and Jordon Smith kind of came up at the same time, and we saw Jordon take some pretty significant steps forward at times last year. But I think he can make it happen. You know, the biggest key for him will be adapting to the new bike. Everybody on that team has to get used to the radically new 2018 CRF 250, and then getting good starts. Because we saw last year in the Outdoor Championship, if RJ can get up front, he can go fast. He can be in the mix to do well. But if he doesn't start at the front, it seems to be much, much more difficult for him. So those are keys for him.
And on the East Coast for Pro Circuit, so talking about Adam and Marty going on the West, Joey Savatgy, and there's still in a cast, Austin Faulkner should go.
He's taken a beating as of late. It's been rough on Faulkner.
It has been. His can't miss status. Is it still there, or did we yank that?
I think he'll be fine in the long run.
All right, okay.
But certainly I thought wouldn't have these struggles at this point. If you saw a year and a half ago him being in this position now, I don't think many people would have thought that.
But you really have to, I mean, from all the lessons we've learned about Adam Cianciarulo, and we see where he's at now, I think there's nothing to worry about for Austin Faulkner. If Cianciarulo can go through the trials and tribulations he did and still come out on the other end of it, and he still looks like a can't miss at this point, Faulkner will be fine. He just needs to work through these things and learn that longevity is paramount to all of these other issues.
So 2016, Joey Savatgy, we saw him be fantastic, win races, lead races. 2017, Joey was great too, but threw it away with odd mistakes, and we saw what happened in Vegas. So what Joey Savatgy are we getting in 2018? That's a big question.
I think that was a weird year for him. I think it's an anomaly. Those weird tip-over crashes are just strange. I don't think that necessarily happens again. I don't think it indicated anything specific with him that he can't fix. I know that Osborne's the favorite for sure, and he was the best guy last year and the fastest guy, but do not sleep on Savatgy, man. He does one thing that a lot of these other 250 riders, they're always trying to get that breakthrough. Savatgy wins a lot of races. He wins races consistently. He gets 2 or 3 a year, indoors and out. I think that means a lot. Other riders are just hoping to get one. So I would not be surprised at all if anyone I think is going to be able to upend Osborne. I think Savatgy could do it.
Well, look how close Savatgy's been. He lived through the Cooper Webb era, almost beat him. You know, I'm not sure how close the points were, within a couple points at Vegas in the mud 2 years ago. Then he goes through the same experience with Osborne, loses it with 2 turns to go. So going into this year, he's got to know, he's like, so close. I have every tool there, so maybe this is my year. So yeah, I think going off of past experiences, we'd be fools to not think he's going to be in it right at the end.
Absolutely. And sorry, I'm kind of taking your job here. But let me float it over.
That's the last show. I'm tired.
Okay. Going to the East Coast for Geico Honda, the highest paid rider in the 250 class, Jeremy Martin. We speculate. Is he ever going to figure this out? What are we doing with Jay Martin?
I have a question to pose back. As they're laying out this landscape for positioning riders like, you know, soldiers on a map.
Like the game of Risk.
Exactly. Where do they put their priority? Because I really believe that it is a big advantage to the West Coast riders when it comes to racing the Outdoor Championship to race West. If you race West, you get this long break. It's like a 6 or 8 week break where it's just outdoor moto downtime. And the East Coast guys don't really get that. They're in the midst of their every week prep for a Supercross. So does Geico Honda prioritize that outdoor series, which we know J-Mart can win, or do they say, you know what, we believe in you, we want you to win. You know, if you want to race East and you think you can win the East and beat Osborne, go for it. That's a real question, which I don't know the answer to.
See, I think that the issue they're up against is this. There are other riders, McAdoo, Sexton, and Hampshire. I don't know if you can count on either of those 3 to be your title contender. So to put Craig and Martin in the same coast, to me, leaves a pretty fair hole on the East. Those other guys haven't even won any races yet. Martin, I think the Supercross struggles are a lot simpler than it seems. For some reason, his starts suck in Supercross, and it leads to all kinds of chaos. He's won races before. When he goes fast, if he can just avoid that bad start chaos, he's fine. But he has never consistently been able to do it. He gets 2 or 3 good races a year and 2 or 3 bad races a year. I don't know why his starts are so bad indoors and outdoors it's not a problem. It's very strange.
I agree. It is strange. He's won, JT. He's won the outdoor title, though, riding the East. You know what I mean? And he rode West last year and then didn't win the outdoor title. So I'm not positive that West Coast, East Coast thing applies to J-Mart specifically, although I like what you're saying about all that time outdoors. For Jeremy, he switched up his program. He's gone with Eli Tomac in the offseason, so he's in Colorado. Maybe that changes things.
I know he
Maybe that
likes
helps.
this new bike, by the way, way better than the 17.
I've never heard a guy talk about the bike being better. Yeah, so that's unique and new, that the rider never felt better on a new bike. That's great to know.
Okay, let's hear more of these guys that are at the test track loving their new bikes. We'll go back to Pingree in California to tell us all about who he's heard is flying at the test track.
Hey guys, yeah, lots of chatter out here on the West Coast. You know, the tracks are so close together. If I was a better golfer, I could probably take a 3-wood and hit all the tracks from right here. So you get a lot of the feedback from different mechanics and folks on the race teams. But a lot of it, you know, you just got to let go and wait till Anaheim to see. But what I have been hearing pretty consistently, Adam Cianciarulo, Martin Davalos, both going fast. Both of them have the pedigree, the speed, the history to go out and win races and be competing for those titles. So I'd look for those two to be quick over at Pro Circuit. Right here at Star Yamaha, they got some heavy hitters here. For one, Colt Nichols will probably end up on the West Coast. And I really like this kid. I think he's got a much higher ceiling than what he's shown so far. And I'd keep an eye on him to be one of these kids having a breakout season. And don't forget about the Spaniard, Dylan Ferrandis. It's actually Ferrandis, he's French, but this kid is amazing to watch. I love watching him ride. Kind of a mix of JMB and Purcell, just really smooth. Very, very technical on the bike. So if he comes out and builds on what he did last year, he's a title competitor all day long and winning races this year. And then you've also got a real dark horse, in my opinion, Mitchell Oldenburg. They wanted to keep him at TLD this year. They just ran out of space. They had guys on multi-year deals, so it ended up putting him out. These guys snatched him up. He was just getting ready to really take off last year, had himself a couple of the best finishes he'd ever had. He had a broken collarbone that really slowed him down. But look for him to come out and be really quick. What coast is Zach Osborne going to ride? If he's on the West, obviously he's a contender for this championship. Rumors have him riding West this year, so we'll see what happens there. You've got the Geico Honda guys. Boy, I haven't heard too much about them. I've heard they've had some struggles with that new bike, getting that thing sorted out. That's a great team over there. I'm sure they'll have things dialed by A1, but pretty quiet out of that camp other than that. And as far as Justin Hill, where will he end up? What coast? How will he be? He's going to be fast. He's a great rider. Those guys at JGR put together a great program, so I can't imagine them doing anything but putting in good results. So it's already shaping up to be a great West Coast series. Lots of guys, you could list probably 8 or 9 guys capable of winning races, and that makes for great racing, great season. So that's the chatter from out here. Anything interesting happening back in the studio? Matthes eating anything that we don't know about? Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Ping. Shocking. TLD rider.
Yeah.
Ping is very close to the team. I'm surprised he got time with the team manager and got that inside access.
Great scoop.
But here's the thing. I feel like the TLD KTM team has the 2 sleepers. People probably are forgetting that McElrath won a bunch of races in the West last year, would have been right in the title hunt with Hill if his bike didn't break, as Ping mentioned. And Jordon Smith had it. Early in that main event in Vegas, the title was his. He crashed it away, but he had a breakthrough season, won a lot of races. Those are by far the 2 sleepers, the dark horses. It wouldn't shock me at all if either of those guys win the title on the respective coast. Probably going to see Jordon Smith on the East because he's had some injuries to deal with, and McElrath on the West. So those are 2 big names that are probably not getting as much talk as necessary, including in our show where we waited till late in the show to mention them.
Is Alex Martin chop liver?
They won races last year. They won races. They were right in the title hunt.
I'm Team Troll.
I'm absolutely sure
Troll
that you're
Nation.
on the A train.
I'm on the A train.
Yes.
No, but absolutely, JT. Let me ask you, Shane McElrath or Jordon Smith, who was the bigger surprise?
I would say Jordon was the bigger surprise. Shane's been hanging around that podium spot. To see him come out and win the first 2, which I believe he did, was a surprise. I mean, don't get me wrong, but we've seen him work in the scene there. Jordon, we didn't know what to make of it. I would say it was an underwhelming time for him at Geico Honda. Then he makes the move, and you always hear the rumblings, oh, he's so much better. The bike's better, the team's better, I'm going to be better. But you never really know. You always hear that. So for him to come out and be literally going into the last race with a chance to win the title, and on the end of lap 1, I would be shocked. I think everybody would be shocked to hear that he didn't win the championship, right? Right. So that was a shock. I would have never thought he would be a championship contender going into the last round.
So do not sleep on those guys or Troll.
Or Alex Martin. Yes.
Okay.
Troll's too small to literally sleep on.
You can't sleep on him.
No,
yes.
you can't.
It wouldn't even be a good blanket.
If Christian Craig wouldn't have sent him off a berm for screwing his practice time up in Detroit, we might be talking about a different champion.
Ping would not have gotten speaking time in with the team manager that night because there were no words coming out of Tyler Keefe's mouth. It was just clenched jaw, anger at what happened to
we have to be careful too because Alex Martin and Christian Craig are both kind of pseudo friends of ours. We like those guys, and they got into that collision. And then Adam Cianciarulo and Zach Osborne got into it. Yeah. And we both like those guys, and they're media favorites. So.
And then Matthes starts a group text thread attaching them both.
Yeah, I did.
I
really did.
Exactly.
I really did.
Okay, another team to talk about is Star Racing Yamaha. This was the team just 2 years ago. They had Cooper Webb winning titles, Jeremy Martin winning titles and races. Alex Martin winning races. Yes, absolutely. We wondered how the transition would go. They didn't have the huge superstars last year once they lost Webb and both Martin's brothers. But they did a pretty good job. They had some pretty good results considering. And now those guys, it's time for them to bear some fruit. Is it Plessinger's year? Ferrandis, you would assume, would be better. Colt Nichols, if he can just get into a darn season healthy, should be really good. So this is going to be interesting, this team. I feel like it could go really high or really low with Star Racing Yamaha right now.
I think if you look at their results last year, quietly, they were pretty good.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I thought Dylan Ferrandis was a terrible hire. I did. But he and the team proved me wrong. Dylan did great. He didn't make a lot of friends out there early on, but that's okay. The team was very good. To me, JT, the question is, and you and I got into a yelling argument on a podcast, is just Aaron Plessinger. Is this the year?
First of all, it's Plessinger, so maybe we can argue over that.
Yeah.
Second of all, dude, the consistency, man. 1 week, no, not even 1 week or one race. One section on one lap of a race, you'll be like, no one can beat this dude. Look at this guy. And then it doesn't happen.
Look, at the end of 18, would we sit here and say Plessinger is a double champion of the 250 class?
No.
It's not possible?
It's possible, but we won't be saying that.
I'm saying we could be. Like, he's that good.
Indoors and out. Oh,
he's
the ability,
good.
yes.
I thought Amart was racing in 2018, and you said how much better. They're not even on the same levels, I remember you saying.
Yeah, no, but there's something inside of Plessinger.
There's something inside of that.
He's got the talent, but like, when does that click? When does that switch? When does that happen?
I'm going to need somebody to pull clips. I'm speaking to the world. Somebody pull clips of Matthes saying how much better of an overall rider Alex Martin is than Aaron Plessinger.
I definitely didn't say better rider. I said Amart would finish better.
They were on different levels. I remember specifically
because Plessinger cannot consistently keep it up, and that.
But now you're calling for a double.
I'm not calling it. I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised. He's got that kind of talent. He really does. Do you not think so?
This is the whole conundrum of the 250 class. When we talk 450s, it's easier to preview the season because at that point you pretty much know what you have from most of the riders. The gains, the losses are incremental. In the 250s, every year, always, it's this guy has the tools. Will he put them together? And we probably got 12 that we mentioned here. They would not be, if McElrath or Craig or J-Mart or the TLD guys we talked about, if Plessinger, Ferrandis, if any of them won the title, it would not be shocking. They all have the ability.
I feel like if this is the ceiling of Amart's talent, he's right there. And he's maxed out, trying hard.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
He's giving everything he's got, and he's getting the results that he's probably due. Ceiling of Plessinger, I feel, is up here.
I hope so. He's a lot taller.
And he's here.
In his head.
And he's here. And Aaron's got to make that gap up. Where we've seen these fast laps, these incredible sections you speak of, just I'm waiting. And I don't know if this is going to be the year or not, but certainly he's tremendous.
One other wrinkle to throw in this year, we'll have 2 East-West showdowns, the traditional Vegas race, which counts for points, and everybody's in it together, and one more on the East. So that'll mix it up a little more. Most of the riders looking forward to it because they know that's a chance to make up a bunch of ground. If you have a bad race, maybe you win the race and your rival finishes 8th because there's so many riders from the other coast getting in there. So this is going to mix it up even further.
I don't like the one race edition that Fell did. I would make it 3 more of these.
Really?
These are great. I mean, we used to see these back in the day. There used to be 2 or 3 back in the day of East-West Coast. JT, it's fantastic. It's great. It's a super good proving ground. And I don't care if the riders and teams bitch about losing all these points. It's tremendous entertainment.
It is high on the entertainment value. I think for the riders, it's pretty stressful because you could have your whole season go up in flames pretty quickly with one first turn crash in the heat race, because those LCQs, if you crash in the heat race and break a clutch lever and you're last going into a 3 or 4 lap LCQ, I'm telling you, your whole championship could be hinging on that one LCQ. So it changes that game pretty significantly, and it's a lot of stress, but I can't really argue it.
Yeah.
To have better ratings and get more people interested and add excitement, more talking points, yeah, why not? They can suffer through it.
Sadly, one of those guys not making a main event would make us go crazy. He's points leader's not making the main. We'd be excited about that. Sorry to whoever it is.
No, we saw that happen here and there for sure.
Yep. Couple new venues added to the circuit this year.
We're forgetting about one guy.
Really?
One guy in 250
Really?
class.
Really?
I would
Who's
like
that?
to bring up.
Oh, okay.
He's
I feel like
flying
we've
at the
done-
test track.
Really? Never happier?
He's never been happier.
Never been happier?
Yep.
Everything's positive?
New gear, new bike.
He's all in on Supercross.
He's
All in.
Supercross only like McElrath.
Yep. Here is the headshot, Phil, from last year from the JGR team. Grumpy Phil, typical Grumpy Phil. Here is the headshot we just received 2017.
Look how happy he
Happy.
is.
Happy Phil.
Look how happy he is. JT, does Phil Nicoletti bring home the title this year?
No.
That sounded just like Phil, in fact. That's what he would tell you.
Yeah.
I think Phil can be a top 5 guy, though. I firmly believe that. But winning a title means being on the podium more times than not during the season, and usually multiple race wins, unless it's Tim Ferry. So I would say no.
I think that was a compliment to Ferry.
I can't figure it out.
I can't figure it out.
I can't figure it out.
There are some new venues that I want to talk about this year. So we're going to Tampa. That's right, Tampa back on the tour for the first time in nearly 20 years.
1999, one and only race in the new stadium in Tampa. You were there. I was there.
Won the LCQ.
Shocking.
I know you're not going to believe that.
Shocking.
But I won the LCQ that night.
Well, my rider, Tim Ferry, passed Jeremy McElrath in a heat race.
Sure did.
And I was loving life, only to have McElrath blow by him a few turns later.
What was the crowd reaction, though, in Tampa for Tim Ferry to pass?
I don't really remember.
This was Steve Matthes' first race.
Negative.
I thought you'd driven across the country to meet up.
No, I'd worked from the week before. That was my first race.
Early in the relationship, honeymoon phase.
Yes,
Very
honeymoon
early.
phase.
Honeymoon
Yeah.
phase.
Yep.
We're back in Houston, which had been on the schedule for the first, I think, 43 years of Supercross. Was off, back as round 2.
Yep.
Round 2 is in Texas this year. And back to Foxborough, which means my beloved New Jersey Supercross is off schedule.
Will Gronk make an appearance in Boston?
Well, that's up to Monster, right? Call Dirt Shark.
I don't know, he was in the Gronk bus with a bunch of monster girls. I don't know if they can do that kind of thing anymore. That might not be available. Also, remember Jimmy Albertson lowered the back gate of their semi and put a big ding in the pavement of the parking lot, and then we looked up and the sign said, reserved for Bill Belichick?
I don't remember
Yes,
that.
he actually damaged Bill Belichick. I'm shocked we're back in Foxborough. You can get your tickets to all these events at supercrosslive.com. Also, by the way, a brand new, sparkling, beautiful, bazillion-dollar stadium in Atlanta. Good thing, because that old Georgia Dome was a dump.
Don't get me started. So ridiculous. But before we go, though, last episode of the series, we need some way too early title predictions.
The 250 class?
Yes,
Very difficult.
in 250 class. Or do you just want to name race winners?
No, I'll go titles. Easy.
Okay.
Justin Hill in the West, Zach Osborne in the
Oh,
East.
wow. There we go.
Got it.
I'm going to go, it's finally time. Adam Cianciarulo.
I thought you were going to say Davalos. That would have been amazing.
He's going to win a lot of heat races. He will. It's a fact. Adam Cianciarulo, Zach Osborne, but closer than the experts predict on the East again. Savatgy makes it interesting.
That's not a bad call. Absolutely. Yep. Don't sleep on those TLD guys.
I will go Zach Osborne on the East. I like the package he's got going on and the confidence and the Alden Baker program and everything else. And on the West, it's time. Marty Davalos. Marty Davalos will pull through in his 12th year in the 250 Supercross class. Back with Peyton. Remember, he almost won it last time at Pro Circuit. He's back. He will do it. Marty Davalos, Ecuadorian champion.
About the only thing better than that, if Marty could be the first to hit one of the Steve Matthes nets. If we could just have complete justice in this world.
I feel like that That is possible. I really
very
do.
very
Well, I
likely.
feel like he would do it just in some sort of passive-aggressive, symbolic move. Just ghost ride his bike into a net.
Yeah.
Marty's going to do it this year, everybody.
Either hit a net or win the title.
And I've always been there, Marty. You know this.
Okay. That's it for our 5-part series. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to David Pingree out in California, Davey Coombs, who jumped in with us on our previous episode, Jason Weigandt, Steve Matthes, Jason Thomas, supercrosslive.com for all the information on Monster Energy, AMA Supercross, and FIM World Championship. We'll see you at the races.